Most good schools will give you full tuition waiver or partial tuition waiver, or they will give you in-state tuition. Those are three significant funding that will show up on your I-20 and that will show at the embassy that they really want you in that school. Hi guys, welcome to another episode of my channel, and in today's episode I'll be talking about US F1 visa interview tips for African students. Now that's a very specific title because I know that students from our side of the world are treated differently whenever it comes to applying for visa. Especially US visa, okay? Not just student anyway, anybody that is applying for visa from less developed country like ours, like most African countries are classified as third country, right? So anybody that is applying for visa from that part of the world, from our part of the world, is considered a potential immigrant. What that means is that you have to really justify to them that you're coming back home, right? Which makes sense because people migrate for economic reasons, right? People move from one place to the other because they are not enjoying life where they are. Now, your goal as an F1 visa applicant is to prove that, well, as nice as the United States is, I'm coming back to Nigeria. So that's the ultimate goal when you go for your F1 visa interview. Now, what I'm going to be covering in this video has to do with how you can present your case, right, legitimately as an African student applying for F1 visa, and how you can remove the doubts from the consular officer, like how you can eliminate the doubts that you are a potential immigrant. Okay, now without further ado, let's get started. I don't know why I do this all the time, like cover my screen, but it kind of like looks cool, sort of. So anyway, now before I continue in this video, I would like to apologize because I've not been consistent with producing content. Initially, when I started this channel, one of my goals was to publish at least 2 videos per week, right? I had the zeal and all of that when I started, but boy, life happened. Okay, so I'm probably gonna make a video and update you guys about why I've not been consistent. It's for a good reason, by the way. Now let's get started. The first thing that people don't know is that schools in the United States are ranked differently. In Africa, we really care about school rankings, right? You apply for admission, you get into the school, that's it, right? But in the United States, schools are not the same, right? Schools have different rankings. Some schools are much more recognized than the other. That's why you hear things like Harvard. That's why you hear things like Stanford. That's why you hear things that schools like Georgia Tech. That's what. The point I'm trying to make is that all schools are not the same. There are schools that are just like a block or 2 blocks, okay, and these schools are mainly for profit purpose, right? So, and there are schools that are like that have been around for hundreds of years, okay. Now what I'm trying to point out is that just about schools that are made for profit purpose only, schools that are not really good school, they don't need much from you to give you an admission, right? Because they want your money. Now these schools, the embassy obviously know most of them, right? So if you're going to the embassy with an I-20 that has the name of this school on, like if you're going to the embassy with an I-20 that bears the name of that school, obviously your chances are very slim because they know you are not really interested in education. Because if you are, you would apply to a better school. It's like living Nigeria, like you live in UI, you live in OAU, you live in Covenant University, right? To go to a very weird school that is not recognized. Why are you paying millions of naira to go to a school that is not valued, right? That's the first thing that you should know. So your school is very important, right? I know most of the times we are tempted to apply to schools that will admit us because we are tempted. We don't want to take GRE, we don't want to take TOEFL, we don't want to take the exams that most of these high-end school requires, right? But the truth is that you've got to take them. If you're serious about grad school admission, you need to shoot for at least average schools, okay? I'm not saying everybody would apply to Harvard. I'm not saying everybody will get into Stanford, of course, but you need to apply to schools that are not like small, tiny little schools that are not known, okay? Minimum state school, okay? State school. That's important, okay? Don't go to the embassy with a community college admission. Now it will end in tears, okay? So that's as far as school is concerned. Key that down. The second thing is that when you gain admission, this is how you know that your school is a good school. Ask for funding, especially if you are coming for a if you are coming for grad school, right? If you are coming for a graduate degree, ask for funding. They should be able to give you some sort of funding, okay? So now funding is in different level, right? Some schools that are made for profit only, they also know that funding is one of the ways to establish your legitimacy at the embassy. So what they do is they call your tuition $55,000 and they give you $5,000 funding. That's rubbish, okay? So ask for funding, right? Most good schools will give you full tuition waiver or partial tuition waiver, or they will give you in-state tuition. Those are three significant funding that will show up on your I-20 and that will show at the embassy that they really want you in that school, okay? So ask for funding, that's key. This thing sounds like very insignificant, but these are the things that actually play a role in determining whether you will get the visa or not. You know, US visa interview is like 5 minutes at the very most, right? So most of the decisions are made from this data that I'm giving you right now, okay? Of course, I don't work in the embassy, but from experience, right? So if you have a good school, if you have good funding, it does not have to be full funding, but if the funding is significant, you know, that's a very good way to establish that you are a legitimate student, because it means for you to get that kind of funding, you must have written GRE, you must have reached out to professors, you must have had a good GPA as an undergrad and all of that. So get funding. In order getting, get funding. You can quote me on that. Now, the third thing is that, so this is kind of tricky, okay? If you're coming to the United States to come and study, I don't want to put out a specific course because, well, in one way or the other, all courses are significant in their own way. But I want to be very careful as I say this. Let's say you're coming to the United States to study library science, for example, right? That's a very gray area, especially considering the political climate in the US right now. If you're coming to the United States to study library science, you're going to like a D school, a school that is not ranked. Your admission is from a D school. You did not get any form of funding at all, and your tuition is like $40,000. Obviously, that's a red flag, really. That's why most people get denied at the embassy, because the visa officer would just look at your application and be like, why? I mean, what are you supposed to do with library science when you get back to Nigeria? Think about it, right? So, but if you're coming for like pharmaceutical science, for example, or computer science, for example, or engineering stuff, like courses in the science, technology, engineering, or math, something like that, as somebody with that experience, okay? Now, about library science, I take that back a little bit. Let's say you're a civil servant that works for Library Commission and you're coming for master's degree and you've had like 12 years of experience as a librarian somewhere. That's different, okay? But as somebody that just got done with high school, with undergrad, you're coming to spend like millions of naira to study library science in the United States, your chances are very slim, especially if you don't have funding, if the school is a very like low grade school, okay? Now, but if you're coming for a STEM program, right, your chances are a bit higher in the sense that, well, STEM is not well developed in Africa. So the idea is that people are coming here to have access to modern equipment, to have access to modern facilities that would help them learn better, okay? So that's a very good sign. Now, if you're coming for a STEM program, as somebody that just got done with university without any experience, that's a good thing, right? Because obviously you're trying to establish your own career path, right? Now, some other instances where like not coming for STEM might be beneficial. Let's say you're coming for your MBA program or your master's in public health or your master's in public policy, and you're a medical doctor in Nigeria, for example, and you are coming to the United States for master's in public health. You've practiced medicine for like 5 or 6 years in Nigeria and you're coming here for your MPH. You're a good candidate, right? you just finished your undergrad in human anatomy, for example, you're coming to the United States for masters in public health, your chances is very is low as compared to somebody that had a medical degree and has practiced for a while before coming here, before applying to come here. I don't know if that makes any sense to you. I feel like I'm spending so much time on this point, but I do know that it's important that you get the idea of what I'm saying. Okay, so that aside, now if you're coming for like a professional course, right? Probably MPA, MPH, MBA, you know, courses like that, managerial courses. The best bet is that you're not coming as a fresh undergrad, right? Your best bet is coming as somebody that has just got that has been working for like 4 or 5 years, right? And you can always say that you need like the degree standard for you to progress in your career, and getting to the United States is gonna help you better because, well, foreign degrees always a plus, right? So that's another twist to it. Okay, now the fourth thing I'll be talking about is your statement of accounts. So when you apply to the embassy, when you apply for your visa, they are going to ask you who is sponsoring your education, right? So there are different ways to prove your to submit your proof of funding, right? Some people get lucky, they get like full funding from the school. Well, that literally takes away the burden. In instances like that, when you go for your interview, they rarely ask for your statement of account. Like when I went for my interview, I wasn't asked for my statement of account, even though I went there with one. They did not check it. They were not interested in that, right? So, but if you see a need for your, like, well, you should go there with a statement of account, with a proof of funding. Don't just say, well, even if you have full funding, go there with something, okay? Because they believe that you can lose your scholarship, right? So the point I'm trying to make with the statement of account is that the closer your sponsor is to you, the higher your chances of getting the visa. I'll say that again. The closer your sponsor is to you, the higher your chances of getting your visa. It's best if you are sponsoring yourself and you have the money in your account. It's better if your parents are sponsoring you, right? And you have the money in your and they have the money in their accounts. You guys share the same surname, and they even transfer probably a portion of the money to your account, right? It is good if your uncle, right, with the same name as your dad is sponsoring you, right? Well, that's as far as relationship goes. Once it starts getting like further away from you, then there are reasons to ask you, why would this person sponsor you? I mean, why are they putting millions of naira on your life for your career? Why? Okay, then you have to start explaining how your grandfather sent your grandfather to school. Okay, now take note of that. Okay, even if you get funding, go with a statement of accounts. Make sure that the person that is sponsoring you is either your parent or your uncle, right, or yourself. Okay, so now the last thing I want to talk about is preparation and being confident, right? So obviously there are like a lot of things to do. Like I can keep on talking about all of this for the next 1 hour, right? But the thing is that it's just a 5 minutes interview, right? These people have been trained to study your body language. They've been trained to literally know when you're lying. That's the truth, right? You might think you're a good liar, but nah. They've seen thousands of people with lying skills and they've dealt with them severely. Okay, so prepare very well. If you are the type that finds it very difficult to collect your thoughts, a good exercise would be writing down like proposed questions. I did this when I was going for my interview because I tend to ramble a lot. I can go from A to Q and J before ending on B. Okay, so if you are that type of person, right, put down possible questions that they might ask you, right, and then write a response to that. Now don't cram the answer, okay? Just understand what you want to talk about. Oh, okay, just understand what you want to talk about. I did not charge my phone. Just understand what you want to talk about, okay? So take for instance, if they say, why are you going to the United States? Know in your mind that the reason why you're going to the United States is because you want to get a degree and get exposed to research, right? Now that's the concept. You don't have to cram like, I'm going to the United States because I want to get a degree and blah blah blah. But you know that the point you're trying to make with the answer to that question is this, right? So that way it wouldn't look as if you cram the answer, because you know when you cram too, right? So that's all I have for you in this episode. If you're seeing this video and you've attended a visa interview before and you would like to share something with those that are watching, do so by dropping it in the comment box. If you have an interview coming up soon and you need some advice, then don't forget to drop your question in the comment box as well. And I'll see you in the next episode. Most importantly, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Okay, peace out. I did it again.